Let's talk about retention in this particular video. You see, in business, which is a practice, or in chiropractic practice, or whether it be in a healthcare practice, it comes down to a few things. And the few things you got to think about when it comes to a service-based business, which most health professionals are, it comes down to really three elements, and you got to get all three elements right, which is attracting the right prospects. You got to learn to convert them into customers. And thirdly, you have to retain them into clients. One of the key elements is retention. Now, of course, all three phases are really important, but if you don't focus on the retention, it forces you to focus on attraction, which is about marketing, about how to get more new clients. And if you focus a lot on the new patients, what happens is that it becomes very tiring. Becomes fatigued, like you're physically fatigued and mentally fatigued, and it's really a tough challenge. So when we talk about retention is that you want to get that really strong within your business so that you don't have to work so hard in the attraction. So let's talk about retention. What does it come down to? Well, I think it comes down to one simple thing. Now, but that one simple thing has complexity that you have to add to it. The one simple thing is about value. But you might think, oh yeah, I understand value. But understanding value isn't good enough here. It's what you do with that value that's really important. And I think that there's three specific things that you need to do. See, understanding value is one thing, which just means like looking at it and go, oh yeah, of course we deliver value. But it's actually what you do with the value. So I think of it like almost like in any sport, it's like value is the ball. Sure, you have a ball, and understanding that you have the ball and you got to score a touchdown or score a goal, that's important. But like, what do you do with the ball? And there's three specific things that I think you need to do with the ball when it comes to a health professional in a service-based industry. In the service-based industry, what you got to do is three elements with that ball, which is value. Which is first, you got to create value. The second thing, you need to learn to communicate value, and third, you need to deliver on the value. So let me explain and go through all three phases so you understand why is it so important. Well, creating value is about understanding the assets that you have. Understanding your asset means that you have to know what your value is. Now, understanding your value is really important, of course, and you have to own that value. The reason why they're successful is because they have confidence in what the value they actually have to deliver on. They don't compromise on their values, they don't compromise on the care. Now, obviously that's one component, that's really important. The second thing I think also the importance is that you gotta understand is about creating value that matters. What that means is that it's creating value that matters to the patient or the prospect of this conversation. Because you might own the value within yourself, you're confident with the value you deliver, but if no one cares, then what's the point, right? Because in order for a practice to work or any business to work, you actually have to have customers. And so which means it's about not creating value just for, or owning the value you have, it's owning the value but in a way that matters to the prospect. And different prospects that value very differently. So for example, a pregnant woman will see your value as a chiropractor very differently than someone who is 60 years old, or maybe a CrossFitter. And so you got to be able to own that value across the board to a variety of different clients. So that's what creating value means, and knowing the differences between how you match up that offer to that particular prospect. The second thing is about, communicating value. This is where most of us drop the ball. You see, you might own your value, but if you're not communicating the value that matters to the patient, right? That's the critical component to this. Communicating in a way that matters to the patient, which is leading to matching their fears and their frustrations and what they want and desire. Not what you want and what you think they want, it's about what they actually want. What are the fears and frustrations that they're dealing with? What do they want and desire? And matching and communicating that value in a way that matters to them. And the communication has to be in a way that is simplistic enough that they actually get. But you've got to look at the prospect again. If you know your audience, you know that a tradie or a blue-collar worker, like a plumber or electrician, have a different value set than, say, a CEO of a company. And how they see the world is very different. So how you communicate, say, the chiropractic message or whatever practitioner you are, communicate those values to a tradie versus someone in the CEO or manager role in a company is very, very different. That's really important. And the third thing out of all, creating and communicating, the last thing is about delivering on your value. Delivering on your value means that you actually have to produce results. Obviously, as you as a practitioner have to be able to provide results, and that they actually have to see and feel and know the difference that there's progress. But here's the element, is that you have to not only be able to provide it, but you also have to be able to measure it. measured in a way that matters to them. You know that they're getting better, but do they know? So which means you have to communicate that again. Can you anticipate their expectations, right? Can you anticipate and match the expectation that they have, not just because you want it, but matching the expectation that the patients want or expecting. And if you can anticipate the expectation, then you can demonstrate the expectation. When you can demonstrate it, then all of a sudden they see it, they feel it, and they know the difference bringing to the table. And when you're able to take value now and be able to create a position of taking value and being able to create it, you can communicate it and demonstrating it, that is how you can create retention. And there are so many ways of doing this. It is not one specific way, there's not one script, there's not one report of findings that's going to do this. What you have to do is you have to be able to demonstrate all of this, creating value, communicating value, and also delivering on the value consistently throughout the whole entire journey and experience with the patient. And there are about, I can think of at least 20 or 30 different touch points along the way. And touch points meaning that there's little things, these 1%ers all the way through that allows you to increase the ability or increase your likelihood to retain this client. Thinking that if I say this one thing or one word or this one sentence to retain a client is, well, total BS. It doesn't work that way. This is not the way of the world. You have to consistently, the word is consistently, deliver value in a way that the patient matters. And you have to do it across the board multiple times. That never ends. You have to constantly be creative to think, how can I deliver more value? How can I create more? Because in exchange, what you get is money, right? We think of money as this bad thing, but really what you're doing is money is the exchange of the values you provide. And if you can focus on providing value, the value is going to be exchanged back. That is the critical part. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't already done so, that subscribe button, you should press it. And because I want to share videos with you just like this one to help you grow your practice.